What is alimony and who qualifies to receive alimony? Alimony is the payment of financial support from one spouse to the other. Who pays it? Well, it applies when you have one spouse who is the financial wage earner, the higher wage earner in the marriage, and the other spouse either earned significantly less or didn't work at all. How is alimony calculated in New Jersey? It's not a formula, I promise. So if you're Googling and you're landing on a formula, it's wrong. There's a statute that governs how alimony is calculated, and there are factors in that statute that a court or a mediator must consider in reaching that calculation. High level, how did you live during the marriage? What was the marital lifestyle? Does the payor have the ability to pay? And what is the true financial need for the recipient, the payee spouse? And that need includes a marital savings component. So if you saved money during the marriage, your alimony calculation will include a factor for savings. How long will I pay or receive alimony? It depends on the length of the marriage. It's not 10 years. I know that's on Google, and one day I'll be able to tell Google to fix that, because the real answer in New Jersey is 20. So if I'm under 20 years of marriage, it's limited duration alimony. So I can receive alimony for up to the length of the marriage, 17-year marriage. I could receive up to 17 years of alimony. If I'm over 20 years and beyond, then it's considered open duration alimony. And that means the payor pays until the payor retires. And it's a good faith retirement. I get that question all the time. My spouse is going to retire at 62. What happens? Not so fast. It's good faith retirement age, which is typically Social Security retirement age. So the payor pays until they retire. So in many jurisdictions, there is a limit on the number of years that a payee spouse could receive alimony, and that's a short-term period. But in New Jersey, it really is based on the number of years that you were married. The longer you're married, the longer the alimony could be received. And, when I have the payors, they say, wow, alimony is pretty generous in New Jersey. And the payees always say it's not enough. But alimony is very specific. It is really based on how the family lived, and it is based on the lifestyle that you enjoyed during the marriage, and it is also based on need. Alimony can be both modifiable and non-modifiable in the state of New Jersey. Now, if you're in the 1% of people that try the case, a judge can only award modifiable alimony. So if a judge makes a decision, your alimony amount will be subject to modification. In mediation, however, people can negotiate either. So a payee may say, I want my alimony, I need to know it's a firm number for this finite period of time. They may not want that modifiability, but the payor might say, wait a second, if my spouse wasn't working and then my spouse starts working later, shouldn't we adjust the alimony for that? So this is a key part of the negotiation in alimony. Maybe there's some value in getting a finite amount of money for a period of time, and so you negotiate a non-modifiable number. But however, there could be some uncertainty in your future, and you say, listen, I'm not sure, my job is commission-based, I need that number to be modifiable. Just remember, the tide goes both ways. It could go up and it could go down in that modifiable state. So what does it mean if I have modifiable alimony? It's modifiable on both ends. So the payor, for instance, maybe the payor made up to $500,000 during the course of the marriage. So alimony, we're going to determine it based on a number up to that $500,000. But perhaps the payee, the recipient spouse, wasn't working at all. And now the recipient spouse, a year, 2 years after the divorce, is making $100,000. Well, I would rest assured to know that the payor spouse is going to say, wait a second, you were making $0, now you're making $100,000. My alimony should get recalculated, and the number would therefore be lower because the recipient spouse is now earning a $100,000 salary. What happens if my income actually rises after the divorce? So during the course of the marriage, I never made more than $500,000. And then a year after the divorce, I hit pay dirt, I get a new job, and I'm now making $1 million a year. Does my former spouse get to enjoy that uptick? I doubled my income? Not so fast. Typically, the answer to that is no. We're capping the alimony at the maximum you earned during the course of the marriage, and your spouse isn't going to enjoy the momentum that you'd experience after the divorce. When can alimony end in New Jersey? It's typically when you make a good faith retirement. And what's good faith? It depends on your age, your health, your industry. There are some industries where you retire younger. Perhaps let's take a police officer. They may retire younger because they're eligible for their full pension, but that doesn't mean you stop working in total. Right? So alimony can end when you make a good faith retirement. It can also end if you're permanently disabled. And I say end, I mean end or modify. And the big word in New Jersey is cohabitation. So if your spouse is cohabitating, meaning in a relationship with someone else, which is highly defined by case law, so cohabitation will trigger a review of the alimony. It could be modified or terminated. What cohabitation is a very long story. Alimony and taxes, it's an interesting gift. Way back when, alimony was tax deductible for the person paying and taxable income for the recipient, but that doesn't exist anymore. So for all alimony awards today, it is neither deductible nor taxable to the recipient spouse. So yes, alimony is tax-free money. Alimony is the A word in the divorce. People love it, people hate it, it's complicated, there's no formula. You want to learn more? Give our office a call and we're happy to walk you through.